the idea of this is to generate this business case. It's about getting to that next stage. We've kind of gone through what needs to happen, why things are important, but this is all irrelevant until you've got a business case to present to the business, and make sure you've captured all of these components in that case. So we're just going to walk through quickly what that business case should be and where you should concentrate on certain components. So things like the exec summary, the strategy, the business outcomes, we've identified them. We just need to document them, get them down so they're agreed by the business. We then move into some of the justification. Why are we doing this? What's it going to lead? That's mapping the business outcomes. How are we identifying success for this? Us doing this within the next 6 months mean we don't have to buy a new data center contract. Okay, that is a justification. That's a success. How are we making sure that this migration project has got every chance of success? How are we selecting the migration projects? It's really important to make sure that first migration project is successful, because if you start with something horrible that's hard, you're going to erode any stakeholder engagement. If you're going to pick your big finance application as the first migration project and it goes bad because it's hard, well, straight away people are going to think, well, migration to Azure is hard and expensive and bad, so the next one that comes along, you're not going to get that same level of buy-in. But if you start with something small, maybe I'm going to move my test and dev environment, maybe I'm going to move my backups, maybe I'm going to move my VDI environment, that goes well, goes successfully, it buys success. It buys in that confidence, so when the next one comes along, that's successful. So when you do get to the finance application and it is a bit of a pig, you've got a lot of favors in the bank, you've got a lot of sway within the stakeholders to say, look, everything else went well, it's just this one project that went a bit squiffy. We still achieved what we needed to achieve, it just overrun by a week, 2 weeks, or we had to back out of a change or a cut over because something wasn't quite right. Well, fine, that was one project out of 5 that didn't meet the criteria. Perfect. It's still a successful adoption and a migration of services to Azure. Liam's already gone through key stakeholders. It's identifying what this means to them. So if I'm a HR manager, I don't really care about data centers. I don't really care about my IT staff being trained with the latest backup execs products. I care about my application being available, so my staff can log HR incidents, they can look at training records, they can make sure people are booked on courses. That's what I care about. So making sure that you talk to me in my language and say, Sean, your HR application will be available, or actually this weekend it's going to be down for a few hours because we're going to do some testing and cut over. Okay, brilliant. That's fine. What does that mean for me at the end of it? It means I've got a more performant, more resilient application, so it's not going down all the time, and it's not taking forever to load records and things like that. Brilliant. Okay, well, you've got my buy-in because you're going to give me a better service going forward. I don't really care that your engineers aren't trained in the latest backup exec or kind of have the licenses required for it. It's engaging the stakeholders with the language that they understand. Then into some of the adoption planning. We talked about digital estates, identifying the 5R mechanisms, how we're going to get your service from where they are to where they need to be. Looking at rehosting, refactoring, getting that into the desired target state, but also looking at areas for innovation as we go along as well. And also that organizational element. Let's start looking at how I can start. If the business are quite lukewarm to this and thinking, well, is it going to work? It's still a large element of risk. Well, part of that is let's look at moving towards an MVP phase. Let's look at deploying a proof of concept, a proof of value. If you're not worried, if you're worried that the backups I won't be able to get them back, or I'm reducing my RPO RTO by moving my backups to Azure. Well, let's test that. Let's go through, and part of that will be adoption planning from the technical capacities, but also that organizational change. How am I going to support this going forward? Let's change that and then look at how my backup team worry about backups at that point and how they can then recover from a backup. So it all goes hand in hand together. The next one then. Looking at skills, readiness. So like you said, it's not just IT. I've been on a course, I've got a certification. It's also looking at your organization as well. So when you talk about SQL databases and when you talk about cloud scale, elasticity, people talk the same language. And when you're telling people within the business you're doing Azure, what does that mean to them? Well, that's just mailboxes in Microsoft, isn't it? That's just SharePoint. No, it's a very different service, a very different product. So it's making sure that people have the skills for you to have, you know, the conversations with them as well. So things like the Azure Fundamentals course is a fantastic course that isn't always aimed at technical resources. It should be aimed at business resources as well, so they have a comprehension and understanding of the fundamental services that underpin Azure. All of these together will allow us to create this adoption plan, will allow us to articulate time and efforts where there's red flags, where there's potential outages, where we need business change involved. You know, I want to do a migration on the 17th of July. Okay, well, the 17th of July is a real busy period because we've got an audit in at that time, so I don't want you doing it then. You know, it's making sure that plan aligns with the business strategies and what's going on day in, day out within your business. Making sure we've got the data to back this up as well. You know, the assessment data, the modelling. You know, the models are going to have different lenses on them. So CFO is going to want to look at, you know, the costs over 5 years potentially, whereas an IT manager might want to look at the operational costs, the OPEX costs, whereas HR might just want to look at, you know, how much training, you know, am I required to support, and what does that mean for the business with people out going on courses and things like that. So there's different cost models you need to present to different stakeholders, and it's having the different lenses in front of the source data that's going to help you do that. Articulating that desired target state and also that desired operational model will help you as well. So ultimately, at the end, we've got that definitive business case, we've got data, we've got cost modelling, we've got that target state, we've got a mechanism to get us from A to B, we know where we need to be going forward, and, you know, all of these components together will help us build that business case for you. So the next slide shows the complexities that are needed. So if I haven't scared you enough, this one should scare you. So you can see here the different components that could be needed as part of a migration. So yeah, you can step through the snake. You know, we can go from business strategy to, you know, TCO, business case, migration planning, technical skilling, security compliance. Yeah, there's multiple steps within that. But, you know, we've done this before. You know, we are an expert MSP. We are a trusted pair of hands. We do this day in, day out. We have nothing else to distract us. You know, you are an IT manager, you're a technologist, you're a business stakeholder within your organization. You have many hats to wear, and Azure migration is just one of the many things you have to worry about day in, day out. Whereas we've got the luxury of not really worrying about anything else. You know, my engineers that sit within the Azure practice, all they do is Azure migrations. All they do is deployments into landing zones. All they do is deployments for WVD. That's all they're doing day in, day out. You know, they like it for some reason, but that's their job. They're experts in what they do. It's repeatable. It's, you know, they're familiar with the tool sets. They're familiar with the technology. Whereas if you were to do this yourself, you know, you may only do one in your lifetime. You may only, you know, your organization may only go through one cloud adoption journey going forward. So it's a big commitment from your organization. But ultimately, coming to a partner like us means that we can streamline that into, you know, something that's more achievable. So like the snake has now been flattened out. Identifying your business strategy, that's something you're going to have to do. You know, we can help you, we can poke you, we can prod you, ask the right questions, but that business strategy is unique to your organization. Once you've got support from us, we can then come in and help you with migration assessments. We can help you with that TCO and business case. We can identify where technical skilling is required, or we can come and strategically or tactically come and assist you with, you know, some of the operational frameworks. Security and governance, we can highlight components there that's going to help you moving forward. Landing zone designs. Look, we design landing zones all the time. We've got a team of architects that do this day in, day out. Operational transitions. You know, we run cloud operations. We can help you run your cloud operations. So, you know, we're here to help you. It's not a sales pitch or anything like that. It is, we do this day in, day out. So for us, this is quite simplistic. For you, you know, appreciate that this isn't as simple as we make it out to be. But, you know, we've done this many times before, and that culminates itself to the underlying bottom bit there. Again, you're too eager. The 6 different stages that, you know, we offer support on. So going through the discovery process, making sure we gather the metrics, we gather the underlying data, we go through the assessment, we identify and align ourselves with that target end state, we make sure we plan and migrate. You know, that's going through the migration adoption plans, the business case, the TCO, technical skilling. That's all part of the plan and migrate phase, moving ultimately into that end state, which is the operational deployment of these services. We haven't thought this up. This isn't something that we dream up or we can claim fame to. This is part of the cloud adoption framework. So this is a Microsoft incentive that is based on thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe million of deployments within their technology set. So they've seen every configuration of these services, good, bad, ugly, and this framework is really about helping you identify common configuration patterns, common documentation, best practice engagement, learning from other people's mistakes ultimately. And there's pre-migration changes that we're kind of at the stage now. We're looking at defining that strategy. We're looking at migration strategies. We're looking at getting Cloud Direct involved or another expert partner involved to help you, assist you to getting to that next phase. We're looking at that planning. What does this mean to my organization when I plan this going forward? What does that business case look like? What's the migration plan? This is very much where we are now. And some of the other bits on the right there, looking at making sure you're ready and making sure you're ready to adopt that, are all part of that adoption framework underlined with management and governance responsibilities. The next one then. There's documentation available, so we'll paste that URL at the bottom right there for you to have a look at. There's a lot of documentation out there, a lot of support from Microsoft for you to do this on your own. Like, we use a lot of this ourselves. We've developed some of our own things that provide extra value from this. But if you're looking at business outcome templates, there's one there. You can download it from Microsoft to give you a starter. Obviously they can't fill it in for you, but they can ask you the right questions. Templates, readiness checklists, architectural review processes, best practice source codes. There's lots of things that's going to help you on this journey to make sure you're doing things in the right way, in the right manner. Other key thing is, the next one is this smart readiness assessment. So what's it stand for? Strategy Migration Assessment and Readiness Tool. There we go. They've tried to get that into smart somehow, haven't they? But go to that URL as well, and it will take you 20-30 minutes to go through, answer it honestly, and it will grade your organization. It will say, look, you're immature in governance, you're immature in landing zone concepts, you're immature in the cloud adoption framework, you've got a good maturity with business strategy, and it will really help identify where you need assistance and where there's potential shortcomings in your business case going forward. So it's a really good, it's free tool. Download it, complete the form and you can download the report, and it will give you a great snapshot in where you potentially need assistance. Really recommend doing that.